Let's look at what happens in our dog application class when we create a method and send a dog object to it. I'm going to create a method, public static void dog analyzer, and it will have a dog parameter. I'll call it dog D. So just like we can send strings and ints, we can send a dog object to a method, and I'll send a dog object, and here I'll call the parameter D. And I'll make a display here that you believe that you are a, well, whatever breed you think you are. So that's D.getBreed. Remember, D is a dog, and all dogs have a getBreed method available. However, we do a little more analysis on some genetic testing, and we will discover that you are actually a Schnauzer. That's what you are. Maybe a different color, but that's what you are. Sorry if you thought you were actually a St. Bernard. All right, to actually change the breed for our dog D, we have to .setBreed and try to spell Schnauzer. So D.setBreed Schnauzer. That will actually make the breed for our dog object D in this dog analyzer method Schnauzer. Now let's see the information for dog D. We'll use the toString method and take a look at the current state of D, our dog, in the dog analyzer method. So we'll display some information about a dog right here in the method. Now we'll add some Java documentation to this. I probably should put something more descriptive than this, but I'm going to point out that our purpose for this in our lesson is to find out what happens when we pass an object or send an object to a method. In this case, we're going to send a dog object. And D is that dog object. That's the parameter that's going to accept the dog that comes to it. It will be the dog that we analyze and discover that it's a Schnauzer. Now let's return to the main method. I'll change this line of code right here to indicate that it's dog5's information before the dog analyzer method. Sorry, I should have used a lowercase d there on dog analyzer. Then we'll activate or call the dog analyzer method. And we'll send it dog5 as an argument. The dog analyzer method is expecting a dog object, and it's going to get one, dog5. Now we also want to see what the information is on dog5 after we run the dog analyzer method. That's pretty much the 2 lines of code I have up here, so I will copy and paste them and make note that this is after dog analyzer. And let's see what happens. All right. Before dog analyzer, our breed was terrier. And in the dog analyzer, it says you believe you're a terrier. Our testing reveals you're a Schnauzer. Dog D is a Schnauzer. And then look, after dog analyzer, dog5 is also now a Schnauzer. It used to be a terrier before, and now in the method, D became a Schnauzer, and then dog5 is also a Schnauzer. Why did that happen? Well, the identifier dog5 refers to a place in memory. New dog creates a dog object in memory, and dog5 refers to it. I probably should have had that red arrow going a little further back over to dog5. Is referring to a dog object in memory. The dog analyzer method is expecting a dog to be sent to it. So when dog5 is passed to the dog analyzer method, it's actually a reference to the same place in memory. Dog, which you actually call D in the dog analyzer method, is referring to the same place in memory as dog5. I'll show you later in the video that we could actually change that D to a lowercase dog. But the D in dog analyzer and dog5 are the exact same dog objects. So when D became a Schnauzer, so did dog5. They're not 2 separate dogs. They're the exact same dog object in memory. When you pass an object to a method, you pass by reference. It doesn't get a copy of it. It gets the exact memory location, so we're all pointing to the same object. Let's generate some Javadoc, all this blue stuff that we've been creating for quite a while. I've got my project selected on the left-hand side, and I'll go over to Project in the menu and click Generate Javadoc. And we've got some setup to do the first time around here. I will need to put a Javadoc command in there, and I'll use Configure, and I'll look for the Javadoc command. I'm in Windows right now, looking for program files. Then I'm going to get to Java, and I want the JDK. That's the most current version I'm using right now, 10.0.2. Don't know what you'll have. And then in the bin folder, I'll find Javadoc. That's the application we're looking for. So I'll open that. So that is all set. I could click Finish. I'm going to go ahead and click Next just to show you what's there, but probably you're okay to click Finish. You'll notice it's going to document some tags that we've been looking for, including author. And I'll click Next again, and we're really ready to finish. And yes. Go ahead and click it. Don't worry about the error and the warnings. We'll be okay. As I head back over to the class creation package on the left, we've got this doc folder now, and I'm going to double click on index.html. And we'll see this web page. It looks a lot like what we saw when we visited the Java APIs in an earlier video. But this is about our class that we made. Notice that it has the descriptions we had, it has the return types for the methods. We've got details on the constructors, just as we wrote them in the Javadoc, and it's very easy for someone else to read and see what we did. You can learn a lot about the dog class from this Java documentation, instead of trying to read all the code in the dog class. Very useful for someone who hasn't done anything with the dog class. We can also open this in a web browser. So I'll go to Users, find Me, and Eclipse Workspace, the project I'm on, which is class creation. There's a doc folder there, and several HTML files exist, and I'll take the index one. That will lead me to all the other ones, and pick whatever web browser you want to use. I'll use Edge. And there's what we saw before. Now it's in a web browser. Again, it should make you think about what we saw with the Java API page that listed all the classes that by default Java has. Looks like I forgot to get some documentation on one of those constructors. You can go slower than this to read what you have. Again, very handy. And the reason why we've been doing all this Javadoc for such a long time. We can also check out the dog application class. There's not as many methods there. There's a main method and the dog analyzer method. So that's why we've been making all this Javadoc, because it allows us to make some documentation for our classes that's very easy for everyone to read. Now let me go back to show you, hopefully to clear up any confusion, that in the dog analyzer method, I originally called it D, but you noticed in my diagrams I used dog. I can use dog. Lowercase dog is not the same as uppercase dog, so it's okay to have a name of an object to be the same name as the class, just use a lowercase letter. That's a common practice. And I thought that's what I'd done when I made those diagrams that showed how dog5 and D, or lowercase dog, were pointing to the same object. We've sometimes looked over on the right-hand side as we've built this dog class to see this outline, which is very much like a UML, or Unified Modeling Language diagram. We can make one of those diagrams with the help of something such as ObjectAid. I'm at objectaid.com/home, And I'm going to install Object Aid because I want to be able to generate a class diagram. So in Eclipse, step 1 is to install new software. I'll go to Help and Install New Software. The next step, we're going to have to click Add. So there it is, and I'll click it. I need a name and a location. Step 3 shows that to us. The name, we'll use Object Aid UML Explorer. You could actually call it whatever you want, but that's what this is. So I'll copy and paste that into the name spot. And then that URL, which should have the current version all the time, I'll put there. And it says to click OK. Ours, I believe, says Add. All right, the next step, the available software, what it is that we want to install. I'm going to take the free stuff. I'm not going to get a license, so the diagram add-on and sequence diagram I'll unselect. I'll take the class diagram. And here's the installation details. I don't think they tell us much about this. I believe we can just move on because we have to get to accepting the license. So I will click Next and accept the license. This may or may not work on a student MacBook from the school. You'll see that it's installing software in the bottom right. I edited that for time. There is a warning, which we were going to get. I'll tell it to install anyway. And the installation finishes, and it suggests that we restart Eclipse. So that's what we will do. I edited this for time also. And you may get a warning at that point as well. Here's the message about the security warning. And that's why you may have some issues on a student MacBook. I'm not sure. I'm using a teacher computer here. Now, to create a class diagram, they tell us a lot of things here, but let's just go to how we're going to create a class diagram. The easy thing to do is press Control-N. So that's what I'm going to do back in Eclipse. I'm going to press Control-N. So there I did it and got Select a Wizard. And I want the Object Aid UML diagram and the Object Aid class diagram. Click Next. I can give it whatever name I want here. I'll call it dog class, and I'll choose to save the image, whatever I would like to save it as, PNG, JPEG, GIF. I just went with PNG. It doesn't really matter. You'll see what we can do with that in a moment. And I'll click Finish. And here's this empty spot with dogclass.ucls. I'm going to now drag the class that I want to get a UML diagram into that window. You kind of see them trying to do it there in their example. So I'll go to dog.java and drag it over into dogclass.ucls, and I get this diagram, very similar to what you saw in the outline, and this is a UML diagram. And I will save it. And you see over on the left, dogclass.png, which means I can go to Windows Explorer and open this up. It's again in my workspace. And just open it up. I'll zoom in a little bit, and it's ready. I could copy and paste this into a Word document or a PowerPoint presentation. And you notice that it has the name of the class at the top, the fields, which are in red with, I believe you can see maybe a negative sign there. That's what we often use when things are black and white. The constructors are public, so they're green, or could have a plus sign. And then all those other public methods, they are lit up green. They could also have plus signs. And lists the return types, lists the data types for the fields. That's a UML diagram. I won't ask you to make one of these yourself, but you should be able to read one of them to understand what's going on in a class.